Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Like, share, and subscribe. We've got a very interesting video here. This one's from Ethics Committee. We've got a couple of our favorites, Michael Cooper, Michael Barrett, a couple of great Conservative MPs. They're questioning Michael Wernick. He's the former Privy Council clerk for Justin Trudeau's cabinet. What a mess this is going to be, guys. I bet you we're going to learn a lot about Trudeau corruption in this one. Let's take a look and a listen. Let's get right into it. Smash the like, subscribe. Let's check this out.
5 minutes, Mr. Cooper. Go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Wernick, I want to ask you a few questions about the Prime Minister's ethics screen. Would you agree that in terms of seeing that it is triggered, that requires an exercise in judgment that is subjective by those who are responsible for administering the screen?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well,
the onus is on a public office holder to provide information to the commissioner. It happens. It happens.
No,
all the time.
I'm asking you. You earlier spoke about perceived conflicts of interest, and you specifically said that that requires an exercise in judgment on a subjective matter. Now we have a Prime Minister's ethics screen that states that Mr. Carney may participate in discussions and make decisions affecting 103 companies on matters that affect the company's interests as a member of a broad class of persons unless those interests are disproportionate to other members of a class. Now, I would note that this language of having a disproportionate interest doesn't come from the Conflict of Interest Act. It's a subjective question. It's a subjective test, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm totally comfortable that that's a job that Parliament assigns to the commissioner.
Well, the Parliament did not assign that language. That was something that was incorporated into this screen, and I would note that this language, have you seen this language in an ethics screen before? That specific language of a disproportionality test? I
think Parliament has given the commissioner the mandate to make these judgments about what is the appropriate arrangement.
I understand we have an ethics screen in place. I understand the process that led to the ethics screen. I've just asked you a very straightforward question. It should be obvious that, yes, it is a subjective test. Yes, it is a subjective standard. And the fact that you can't even answer that, I find really astounding, and it really raises the question in my mind of whether you're coming here in good faith to answer questions. Now I will ask you this, and I hope you'll agree with this, that when we're talking about the Prime Minister's ethics screen, it's extensive. It's unprecedented. 103 different companies, 103 different conflicts of interest, 103 ethics screen, right?
Sorry, what's the question?
It's pretty extensive, isn't it? Unprecedented.
Yes, it's the most extensive private sector record since Paul Martin.
Well, thank you for providing, for the first time, a straightforward answer to a straightforward question. Now, given the fact that it is an extensive ethics screen, unprecedented, as you've conceded, Canadians have serious concerns about, frankly, the lack of transparency around it, to see that it is triggered when it ought to be triggered. And you served as the clerk of the Privy Council. As clerk of Privy Council, you were pretty busy on a day-to-day basis, were you not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so can you explain to me how it is that this is being left to the clerk of the Privy Council and the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff to administer? How can Canadians have confidence that the screen is being triggered appropriately? Would you agree that there is a legitimate basis for some concern in that regard?
Well, if the committee wants to recommend disclosure of all the instances when the screen was invoked, go for it.
Well, and that's one of the problems that we have, is that right now we have no idea when the screen is invoked or not. One witness came and said that really all we have is hope and trust. Do you think hope and trust is sufficient?
No, I have my faith in the commissioner.
So your answer is that you're satisfied that hope and trust is sufficient, because that's what we have with this ethics screen.
No, those are your words, Mr. Cooper. I think Parliament has given the job to the Commissioner to make judgments about the appropriate screens and the appropriate sanctions.
Yeah. Well, I certainly don't have a whole lot of trust and confidence that it is being triggered appropriately. Would you support amending the Conflict of Interest Act to provide for an enforceable general anti-avoidance measure so that anyone who circumvents the act by circumventing a technical loophole would be held accountable?
I mean, that's a question for lawyers. It would have to be linked to whatever the sanctions are for an infraction, but that's used in other laws, and you would. I don't see any problem considering it for this law either.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cooper. Thank you, Mr. Wernick. Mr. Saini, you have 5 minutes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warnick, for appearing before the committee. Mr. Poliver, as a leader of the opposition, do you think it's correct that he still does not have a security clearance? And is it ethical for a party leader to reject keep getting a security clearance?
Well, I don't want to get drawn into partisan crossfire, but I have said publicly that I do think all party leaders of parties recognized in the House of Commons should go through security clearances, largely to do with foreign interference. But in the context that we're talking about today, going through a security clearance will reveal potential points of leverage on someone. It will reveal credit issues, financial issues, personal conduct issues, business contacts, relationships, encounters with the criminal justice system, and so on. So in fact, one of the most practical ways to deal with perceived points of pressure on decision makers is to ensure they've had a security clearance.
Thank you.
Mr. Barrett, for 5 minutes. Go ahead, please.
To follow up on that line of questioning, if there's a potential conflict that's flagged, what's the evaluation process? What does that look like?
I'm not sure about the details. I mean, I think what happens is that items that come in are referred to specific secretariats. It might be economic, social, foreign policy, indigenous affairs, or whatever. And you have an assistant secretary, sort of an ADM level person, sorry for the jargon, and they will be looking at items coming in. Most items arrive, after several rounds of interdepartmental meetings, people from the sponsoring department coming to PCO. So you don't get very many cabinet items that arrive without prior notice, and there is some time for people to take a look at the screens and see if something needs to be actioned.
And who recommends the decision that something not? Let me rephrase. Who makes the recommendation, and to whom would they make the recommendation that the screen be invoked? And so that's something that was going to go before cabinet, not be presented with the affected public office holder being absented from the room, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't tell you for sure how it's actioned now. I left several years ago. Most cabinet business is done at committees, chaired by other ministers. So my recollection, and I stand to be corrected by people from Privy Council office, is that it would have been the assistant secretary, who's basically the secretary to each cabinet committee, and in the case of full cabinet, it is the clerk.
And so, at the end of my last round, we talked about the effectiveness of having the chief of staff or having the clerk of the Privy Council, who both serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister, responsible for ensuring that that the Act isn't violated. They're the ones that are advising or protecting against this from happening. In the case of Mr. Trudeau, it didn't work. And in the case of Mr. Carney, he's got 103 potential conflicts that are flagged, and we're left with the same system, and it's left in the hands of these individuals. Now, look, they both can be long-serving and well-regarded. But the problem is who their boss is and what their function is to prevent the conflict. And in this case, the risk of a decision being made by the Prime Minister that could further his own financial interests, this goes to the heart of the erosion of confidence that Canadians have in their public institutions. Do you recognize that there is a weakness in this system?
I mean, I think you could tell the story of the last Parliament that all of those issues were detected and made public and became a subject of parliamentary discussion or investigations by the Commissioner. So at some level, the system is drawing out those issues. I don't think you can describe potential issues of perceived conflict in the future in a way that can really be legislated for with a lot of clarity. But there's just too much subjectivity.
You mentioned that there's a process in place that prevent the items from ending up on the agenda or flagging them for cabinet committees. So the record keeping and the note taking exists. Should the law require public reporting of when the screen is invoked, it wouldn't require a great lift of those involved to report it if that were what the law required.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, the remedy is rarely take the item off the agenda, it's recusal. So if there's a minister in the room that may have a perceived conflict, they'll step out for that item. And
is there a practicality? Pardon the interruption, just a very short time.
Yep.
Is there a practicality issue when the minister in question is the first minister? And these are like massive concerns or massive issues that are being considered?
Yeah, as I said to a previous question, I have no objection or problem with you writing specific rules for the Prime Minister's office, given that the Prime Minister plays a particular role, in cabinet. And I have no problem with your suggestion, but what I would suggest is that those invocations of the screen be disclosed to the Commissioner.
That's
and
it.
The Commissioner can come to a view what they want to do about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wernick.
All right, gang, we're going to wrap it up right there. These committee meetings are always very interesting. The investigations lead to a lot of answers, even more questions, perhaps. Anyhow, Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. Come and join us for one of our live shows. We'll wrap it up right there. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Catch you in the next one.